It's not gonna kill you, but I don't like that feeling of, like, I don't have. I mean, my money. I mean, you go to your bank account and you see nothing. That anxiety and that struggle, I don't like that feeling.
You and I know that no bank is going to look at you for some sort of a loan for the first 2 years.
They will laugh at you because
They'll
they
say-
laugh at us.
Right, they say, good luck, buddy. Call me when you're 2 years in.
when
right?
you're someone,
Yeah.
call me.
They need to be aware of cash flow. Make sure they can sustain the growth.
Yes.
Make sure they can sustain payment
Yes.
for their employees and the overhead. Well, welcome back to Multifamily of the Cuff. This is episode number 4.
4, yes. Wow.
Super excited. This has been
Time flies.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. This time we're gonna kind of recap of what's going on in the last 3.
Yep.
I know that the first one we just did the introduction. We have two super cool interviews.
Yep.
And then we're gonna be talking about we're gonna bring some information for our audience, and we're gonna actually give some tips to these vendors that want to get into the multifamily. So, Irene.
Hello, people. Welcome to Multifamily Off the Cuff. It's crazy how time goes by and we just don't even notice. Well, we notice, but we don't know. It's weird. And recapping, we had 2 previous interviews that were amazing. I mean, I'm still in shock by all the information we got from them. All the knowledge they have and all the things that they share, without expecting anything. It was amazing. I'm still in shock by our first guest, Sherry, and what she said about the college and bringing the industry into a career. I mean, I'm still in shock by that because, I mean, we need to know a lot of things about this industry for sure, and that's the reason we create this podcast, just to educate people in how to work with the industry, because it's an amazing industry, but there are a lot of things that are different. It doesn't mean that they're bad things, but they're just different.
Right.
And it was amazing to me when she told us that. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I mean, can you imagine the amount of information that you need to know for creating a career out of an industry? I mean, obviously that's what happens whenever you create a career, right? But it's just amazing.
Tell me a little bit more about a highlight that actually impact you when it comes to the first interview with Cherry. Something else aside from, and that was pretty cool that she actually mentioned that it is adapted right now in college. You can actually go to a community college and get a degree into property management. That's pretty cool. But what else can you say and remind our audience about a highlight that she had mentioned?
Well, the other thing that shocked me was the way she thinks about vendors, and the way she was saying that it's not always the vendor fault.
Right.
She was admitting, like, we have a lot of things going on and we make mistakes, and then we want to blame others for the mistakes we're making. That was, like, it was really cool to hear someone, with such an amount experience in the industry, admitting that, because most of the time you and me, we know that they will blame everything but themselves.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but we keep doing everything we have to do, and they keep just blaming us, and I was like, well,
I think it was pretty refreshing
Yeah.
to see somebody actually be raw.
Yeah.
And she was pretty truthful, and I really
Yes.
appreciated how she just said, hey, how about us? How we look into why we do things,
Yeah.
and then what is it that we can do to accommodate ourselves better so vendors can provide a better service. That
Yes,
was fantastic.
it was amazing. Like I really enjoyed that, and I think, like, I mean, if you haven't heard that episode and you are getting into the industry, I will highly suggest you to go ahead and I'm sorry, this is just okay. Um, and listen to that episode. It's just it's really great for people who are beginning in this industry, and even for people that have been working with the industry for years. It's an amazing um, way of saying things in a raw way, but not offending anyone.
Right. What about the second? What about the third one with Dustin?
Dustin was amazing. I mean, I like him pretty much. He's just awesome. And I like the fact that we have seen him grow. You know what I mean? Like it's we know him for many years ago, and he keeps growing, and it's great to see that. And the knowledge he has now is just amazing. The way he was telling us about this customer service experience he had when he was in Venice, I think. Was that the place that he was? Yeah. And how he grabbed that and he's like, okay, this is the level of customer service that everyone should get. And now he's trying to apply that, or trying to navigate people to see that that's really the way to do it. And it's not hard. I mean,
Right.
it's just you don't need a master degree to offer a really great customer service experience. It doesn't take
It's just about caring
Yes.
and delivering what you promise.
and there's so many details that we can cover. I mean, you don't have to cover all the details, but if you cover a few of them, that they don't take any particular effort. It's just they're willing to do it, the things. And he shared that, and it was amazing. It was cool to hear his resident experience
Yeah.
too. That was pretty funny. If you haven't listened to that episode, go ahead, because he has a really. It's not funny. I mean, now
Now
the
it
way
is.
he shared the story, it's funny, but it wasn't funny for him at the time. But it's cool to see, that they're residents too. I mean, they work with the industry, they work on the property side, but they're residents too, and they get the heat sometimes. So it was pretty cool.
So perfect. So far we have two amazing interviews. I know that you know that I have been working hard to get really good guests to bring to the show.
Yep.
The idea here is to make sure that we bring elite,
Yep.
people from the
People,
industry. And when we serve people out, to make sure that what we're bringing is the one that actually gonna share the knowledge and the information that we want the audience to learn. And you know that's our goal, and that's what we truly want. Okay. Now that today, because we definitely need to make sure that we're picking the right people to come, and all of these elite people are busy. So sometimes it's hard to bring in on a Tuesday.
Yep.
However, we have lined up spectacular people coming this upcoming March 1st,
Yep.
actually, yes. But today, you and I, since we've been in the industry for many years, we've been in the, running this amazing company for 4 years now, we are going to share with our audience a little bit of our experiences.
Yep.
Okay? For many of you that, is getting to know the show and a little bit of my background, It's been how many years now? I keep saying
You
15.
keep no, you keep saying 13.
13, and it's actually 15.
I think it's more than that, but
Let's just round it up at
because
15.
you start with the 13 when we were in year first, and now we're year 4, and you
Yes.
keep saying 13.
So I think it's 15 to 17 years in the multifamily.
I think you don't want to get to your 40th birthday this year, but it's okay.
Let's go. So this is 17 years roughly in the multifamily. I've done many steps throughout, since actually providing services myself, all the way out to selling, the actual service. I used to work at the other company. I had the chance to be involved with the association. In this case, because we're here in Tampa, Florida, for the people that listen, out of state. We are based out of Tampa, Florida, and I was actually, and currently we're part of the apartment association, not active as I used to be. Excuse me. So we've been involved. I was in the board of director, representing the vendor side for I will say a good 4 years. I took it a little bit farther. We went to Tallahassee to represent the Bay Area Apartment Association at the actual capital, to fight for some of the laws that were affecting the industry. Then I took it a step up, and I went to Washington, D.C., representing the Florida Apartment Association, getting involved, listening to the actual people that run this industry. And when, getting to know from the groundskeepers, the leasing agents, going out to the assistant managers, property managers, maintenance supervisors, maintenance regional supervisor, acquisitions. We take it, president of some of the most amazing property management companies, and the most recognized ones, in the United States. I sat with them. We've gone to the headquarters. It is just the information that Pristine Concept, in this case, the company that we do represent, has been so involved, deeply involved, that all the knowledge and information is accurate, because it's based on the experience that we put together. Now, we open this company. It's been 4 solid years, 4 solid years in the growth. I mean, covering many properties, going through, what do we say that we have over 80,000 apartments that we have already touched, that we've been, put our hands on.
Yep.
So pretty much we can say we've seen it all. We've seen, the worst and the best. Now, Irene, you handle, in the company, you handle the finances. If we want to say to these vendors that today wants to get into the multifamily industry, and they're planning on getting into it, they're coming from residential, they're coming from the commercial side, okay? What would you say that name one first struggle that they need to be aware of?
Cash flow.
Cash flow. Can you elaborate a little bit more?
The multifamily industry, it's very particular in the way they submit payments.
Okay.
So let's say we have a 30 days net. And that's stated in our invoices, and the first communication we have with the customer or with the client in this case. But that's not always the case. They take 45, 60, 90, 120 days to pay. And I'm not saying this to make anyone afraid of getting into the industry. It's just like a little tip that you need a really great amount of cash when you are first starting, because after all, it's
a rolling.
It doesn't. It does affect, but it's not as bad as it's in the beginning.
Correct.
Because it's just like we experienced that the first 4-5 months we didn't receive any payment.
Correct. So let's just say that for anybody getting into this multifamily, that they're new into it, and they first start providing services to them, is to let them know that they will not be expecting payment and then that they need to be aware that they have to have the necessary cash flow to sustain their business for a good 90 days. Let's just say 90 days.
I will say 4 months. It's more accurate.
Correct. So
I mean, if you don't want to go to the, because I don't like the, we went through it, and I'm here. I survived. It's not gonna kill you, but I don't like that feeling of, like, I don't have. I mean, my money. I mean, you go to your bank account and you see nothing. That anxiety and that struggle, I don't like that feeling. So if you don't want to go through it, I would say 4 months. It's like it's a really good.
So let's say, because when a company starts, then let's just talk to the audience right now that are listening that are new into the business. You and I know that no bank is going to look at you for some sort of a loan for the first 2 years.
They will laugh at you because they laugh at us.
Right, they say, "Good luck, buddy. Call me when you're 2 years in."
When you're someone, call me.
Sorry. So the reason why banks do this is because they want to see your profit and loss for the first 2 years. The banks need to know how much are you going to put into your business on your own.
It actually makes sense. Like now, obviously, when you're in the struggle, you don't see you're like, I need the help, but it makes sense. Like I mean, we really need to understand their perspective.
Correct, and that's perfect. So the bank is not going to look at you for the first 2 years. And you need to now, if you're getting into the multifamily, you need to understand that you don't have the money and the funds to sustain your business for the first 4 months, okay? Because you're providing services, you're paying your employees, and then you're not getting paid, okay?
That's the way it is.
You and I know exactly how hard that was. So now, how they'll say, and I noticed some of these small companies, they start pressuring. So when they start pressuring, they need to understand that sometimes the actual payment doesn't come directly from the property manager. Okay, it comes from somebody above. They're not perfect, as we all know. Just they're running a business, so just like you and me and the audience. I'm talking about you guys, and us. We're running businesses. They are also running a business. And if the property manager does not submit the paperwork that they need to submit to the accounting, it's going to delay payment. If you as a provider of the service don't provide the invoice at the right time, because when do we provide our invoices? Next day. So if you're providing services, make sure that you submit your invoice as soon as you can. But what are these other companies doing? They're submitting their invoices 2 weeks later. So 2 weeks later for them, then the property takes another 2 weeks. So that's already a month. So your net 30 is already out the window.
Yep.
So then you have to wait an extra 15, 20 days to get paid. And that's let's say when everything runs smooth. Okay?
Yeah, because there are a lot of things outside the invoice processing, because then you have to make sure you have all your COIs, your insurance, like everything is covered. Because if you are missing one little thing, they're not allowed to.
Let's be specific. When you say things, just tell our audience what are these things.
For instance, you need to provide the properties. You need to show them that you are covered. And you need to have a liability insurance. You need to have an auto insurance. I mean, because if you are getting into that property, you need to have an auto insurance.
Okay, so the auto liability insurance.
Yes. And then you need the workers' compensation. Even if you are the only person executing the job, you need to have either an exemption. Is that the way? I'm sorry.
An exempt.
Yeah. Or you need to have the actual workers' compensation proof of insurance. If you are failing in one of those 3 items, they're not even gonna see your invoice.
So they're gonna hold payment until you provide.
Yes.
So now let's talk about who monitors these documents.
Okay, and that's another thing. It's not the property.
Right. It's a third party.
It's a third party, and you have to make sure that you are register with those third parties
Okay.
that monitor your insurances and your COIs, and they are the ones that let the property know, hey, they're missing this item.
So let's just pause here and let's just go back a little bit. So they said there is this new landscaper, and this landscaper wants to provide services to a particular property management. So the first thing they need to do is to find out how they can provide services to them. So the property management is going to tell this landscaper to say, okay, you need to sign up to this compliance company, which is a third party. So this landscaper has to register with them, pay a fee, then upload into this compliance company all the documents. Am I right?
Yes.
So they're going to upload the COI. And for the people that doesn't know what COI means, it's a certificate of insurance. You're going to get that from your actual insurance company. Okay?
Your agent, yes.
Your agent is going to provide that to you. So you upload that, make sure that you follow the template that the actual property management is going to give you. So that has to be identical to what they're asking. So the COI has to be according to the template that this property management wants.
Yeah, because that's another thing. Not all the properties have the same rules.
Right.
You know, like, and then
Of course.
and then you have. I mean, it's not like you're. Oh, I'm gonna get this. You know, like I'm just gonna go online and get an insurance and that's it.
Right.
Nope, it doesn't happen that way. Because you know, maybe you go to X company and the X company management company, and they have this set of rules for
let's say
the general liability
it's
insurance.
just 1 million.
Yes.
And then this other one wants 5 million.
Yeah, and this other one it's 2 millions, and this other one wants you to add things.
Like what? Like when you say things, we need to be specific. What would you say? I think. What is the extra thing that you've seen that's
I
different?
have seen that they ask you to state in your COI that they're not responsible for anything.
Okay.
I mean, they want you to state it in there. Like obviously you're providing this proof of insurance just to make them, you know, to take away their liability, right? But some of them want you to actually put it in the COI, that they want to read it. And some insurance companies, they just don't want to write that in there.
Okay.
And then you have to change your insurance company.
Okay, so it's not as easy as people think it is to jump into this.
No, but the good thing is, like, properties, they're pretty good at providing you all the information you need beforehand. Like whenever you go and you, let's say you went to this property, and they work for this management company, they will provide you with a document that says everything that they need from you in order to work with them.
Okay.
It's stated in there, and so many of them make you sign that you are receiving that,
Right.
and they're pretty good at that. Like
Okay.
they will tell you. I will say 95% of the companies are like that. They will provide you all the info you need.
Okay.
There are few of them that they need the you know, like the work or the job that you are providing or the service that you are providing right away. So they will tell you, yes, come here, do this, and then
Do the paperwork.
do the paperwork.
So in our experiences, we will say that that's not the right business practice. So the reason why we can say this is because what's going to happen is that you're going to provide services and you're not going to get paid until you provide all this information. So one of the things that you might encounter is that this particular property management might be asking for a $5 million liability, and you happen to have 1 million.
yes.
So you go ahead, and in order for you to get paid, you have to bump up your insurance. But guess what? They only use you for that one time. So you have to bump it up, you know, pay more for your insurance. You're going to just get paid for that one-time job, and then they won't use you again.
Yes.
So it's going to create a complete hustle on this vendor side,
Yeah.
changing all this insurance information just to get paid.
We learned that the hard way,
Right.
obviously, because we didn't know. But now that we know, and I mean, I like the concept of this episode, you know, like in the content, because we're sharing this with people, and
Right.
maybe we can prevent them to go through, you know, to learn this the hard way. Now, every time, of course, we have, like the same way the property management has a document that says everything that they need, we have the same for them.
Right.
And we don't complete the business until both are complete.
Right. So one of the things is that for as far as an advice for new companies getting into the multifamily is that if before they provide the service, they need to get the sample of the COI that the property is going to be requiring in order for the actual vendor to see if it's going to make sense to invest into providing, let's say they don't have liability auto insurance, and that's something that they require. And just for the vendors getting into this business, they will not pay. They will not release payment until all these boxes are checked.
Now that you're mentioning that, I remember I believe a few months ago, I received from one management company a request to state. I mean, they asked me to sign a document that says that I don't have anyone in my company working for me that it's a family member. I'm not sure why. I mean,
a family member to the property?
To the company. Like, the company cannot have family members working together. And I was like, I mean, there are a lot of small companies that are family business. Yeah. We're a family business. What do you mean? So it was weird. So I just the only reason I mentioned this, it's because there are weird things that we don't know.
Right.
And I mean, before you put your feet in the property and you complete a job, just make sure that everything that everything that they ask, you're
in compliance.
Yes, because if you're not, then you're not gonna get paid. And I mean, maybe it was just one job, but what about if that one service? Because I mean, there are a lot of companies that the services are very
roofing. Let's say they replace the whole roof.
Exactly, and it's a lot of
$40,000,
yes,
$50,000.
That's my thing.
Yeah, so the payment is going to be held back because of certain stuff with the paperwork.
Yes.
So, guys, the audience, this is some information that we're sharing with you, just because we understand we provide the services. We partnered up with one of the most of the biggest property management in the United States. We've gone through a lot. Now let's just talk about what the positive and all the positive stuff about doing business with the multifamily. One of the things that I will say from our experience is going to be the amount of work that is going to be provided. Okay, so let's just say a company provides services to residential. Okay, and they want to also add multifamily. When you gain a property, on average, for a rule of thumb, we're talking about 300 to 350 apartments per property. So you're going to have one client that's going to provide you with 300 plus apartments. Instead of having 350 houses, you have one location where you provide a lot of service to one. So
you're dealing with one
client
and you have a lot.
So the biggest thing and the takeaway from this episode is that you get volume. Okay, that's all it is for the multifamily, volume. Okay, so now volume, and then in order for you to stick to the system and to stick to this business, you have to provide quality. Okay, so what are we talking about? So volume that we get from providing services. We get consistency work.
Yeah.
Okay, because they can keep you busy all year round.
Yep.
Now you have to diversify into providing services to the different type of apartments, and we can get into that in another episode.
Yeah, but there are a lot. I mean,
there's a lot
just one episode is not gonna cover all the things.
But let's talk about payment and talk about what benefits. So consistency and volume.
Yeah, I mean, and regarding the payment, like, I mean, of course, I'm telling the worst scenarios, right? But overall, they're good at payment. Like, when you're in compliance and you provide everything they need and you have all the items covered, then the common or the thing that we see the most is getting paid within
So
40 days.
out of
That's
okay, so you will say what it will be the percentage out of all the clients that we do have. What's the percentage that pay within 30 days?
within 30 days, I will say it's maybe 30 to 40%.
40% of our whole
Yeah.
portfolio pays within 30,
Yes.
30 days. And then what about 45 days?
45 days, I will say it's another 30%.
Okay. So then the rest of the 40%, the rest will be 40.
Yeah.
So the remaining pays 45 days and up. Okay. So this is enough information for the audience to understand that if they're coming into this multifamily industry, they need to be aware of cash flow. Make sure they can sustain the growth.
Yes.
Make sure they can sustain payment
Yes.
for their employees and the overhead before they get paid through the services that they haven't already provided.
And that's one thing that when we first started, right? You knew all this. I mean, we didn't know
But I knew.
much, but you knew a lot of little details.
Right.
So when we first started, we didn't have an office. I mean, we didn't have the overhead, right? So we are just waiting for the payment, and all the worry we have, it was just payroll.
right.
I mean, it's not. It's the biggest one, of course, because we were in a position that I'm not gonna eat until I pay all
Correct.
these people, right? I mean that's the right thing to do, but we didn't have any other things, any other
Because
expenses.
Remember when we first started, we did our financial planning.
Yeah.
We put our effort into a business plan. We forecasted, what I was expecting just because of the amount of years that it
Yeah.
had. I knew that was a fact that we weren't going to be getting money, and we actually said 5 months.
I always remember because for people who don't know you, Fernando loves to write things in a board. Like whenever he has something in front of him, he starts, doing all those little graph, and it's just funny. But I remember that, like we were in month 3 or 4, something like that, and we're like, oh, we have to pay this, and the struggle was real, like it was painful. And you grab a paper and you start, like, well, these are the first month, and then the money's coming here, and you emphasize on that, like the money will come here, and I'm like, but it's not coming. So it was funny because like you were right, like I mean the next month I was like, oh yeah,
I told you because I know. And then for many of you guys that don't know, the company that we do represent is called Pristine Concepts. We have a phenomenal story to tell. Maybe we'll share in another episode.
I can invite you next episode.
And then so for us to be in the positive, in month 5. After all the 4 or 5 months was
Yeah.
a freaking struggle,
Yeah.
and then to be positive, and then start seeing the money coming in,
Yes.
and how great it happened afterwards, and then how we closed the first year in business. I mean, it was amazing. But why? Because we planned it, because we executed the way we said we were going to do it. We actually had a plan, and then we studied the whole thing. We just didn't wing it, and then when if you guys, the one listening right now, wants to get into the business, I highly suggest to make sure that you have a plan, that you go through your financial forecast, and try to make sure that you watch your money and the expenses. Make sure you don't go into overhead and all that, because it's going to
I
eat
will
you
say leave the ego on the side.
the ego. We have to talk about that in another episode. We need to start writing down some of the stuff we're gonna talk
because
about.
I mean it gets into us, like it's
Right.
pretty normal. That's a human thing, to let ego win us, but I feel like when you're starting you have to put it aside because it will interfere, especially in the financial portion.
Right.
And if you're smart enough and you say, okay, this is just ego trying to get me, and you put it aside, and you're like, then few months later you're like, yes, I did it.
All right, so to close this episode for today, we're going to recap that. Make sure that if you're getting into the business, to protect your cash flow. Make sure
That's the most important thing too.
make sure that you cover everything that they're going to be requiring, your insurance, your COIs, which is going to be your certificate of insurance. Make sure that you do have an agent that can provide that
Yes.
quickly.
That
That's
that
very important.
that's an expense. It's not a huge expense, but it's worth it.
Yes.
Especially if you are working with a multifamily, because they're gonna request you the COIs and everything. And let's be real, you don't have time to do that on your own. So if you have someone who manage that for you, that's an expense that it's worth it.
Okay, perfect. That's a good tip. And then to make sure that that you do provide a great service, because the loyalty, it goes by the amount of money you're charging. So we're gonna get into some of that, and we wanna ask guests about that. That's gonna be a question that I'm gonna put on the table. What is it that they value? Because sometimes they are, they're hentai, and they might have to, let a vendor out because of the funds, that they don't have.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about
some
that.
of them are like that, but yeah.
So let's talk about that later. So hopefully you guys do everything, and then make some notes for what you're getting into. If you're already in it and you just started, make sure that you start, putting pressure on your payments. And
if you have questions, let us know, because we will love to. I mean, we are here to share everything that we have experienced, and of course we're gonna bring people that that are have been in the industry for X amount of years, and they have more knowledge. But if you have questions, like if you're starting your business and you have questions, just let us know.
That's perfect.
Send us a
DM.
comment. And we can talk about it.
Awesome.
Here. Yep.
Alrighty, so let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
And looking forward for the next episode.
Yes.
And hope you guys enjoy. And please follow us on Instagram, Facebook.
Yep.
We'll also have a YouTube channel that you can subscribe, and make sure you leave a comment and give us a 5-star on Spotify and iTunes. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, and let us know your feedback. We want to know. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.